You can add groups, right?
Yeah, we can modify the groups. There's 4 by default. So you can add whoever we need to.
Yeah. Yeah, the two old farts working.
And you can have as many groups as you'd like. I have some clients that have 25 to 30 groups. So it's one of those things that you can add as many as you need or have as few as you need.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, perfect.
Going down this page then, we do have assemblies and serializing, so you can do some kitting and different things in the base system. However, it is one of those things that different clients have different specifications for how they want to assemble kits and create them. Our default system does handle most of those cases. Going down a little farther, we do have the units and the cost and the pricing. You can set up pricing levels here, unit of measure, case pricing. So if somebody is ordering in a larger package, they're ordering by the pallet or something, you can have different pricing in there for that level as well. Certifications and inspections. This can be used with tools and equipment in order to track wear and do pass or fail type tests. We have clients that use this to check safety harnesses, rotary tools. They test the RPM to make sure they're still good to go. Different things of that nature.
All right.
Back on the item master list, I'll just click on the little label icon here. This is just a basic label that you can print out and put on your items. We also have different reports that you can use to print out labels. We have different formats for labels as well. One of the other utilities we have is you can set up in the warehouse so that when you receive items, we have a utility that you can just hook up on a computer or anything in the warehouse, and it will automatically print out new labels for new items coming into warehouses.
Okay.
So as soon as you receive it, it will trigger the print transaction.
Okay. Will we have the capability to be able to scan a UPC into the program?
Yes, you can set up scanning for UPCs. You can set up scanning for barcodes, different things. Let me just show you the actual label there because I think I was showing the wrong screen. So here's the little label. This is just a 2x1 label. We do a lot of different sizes though, depending on what your label stock is and such.
So this is the label that has been generated by the program, or is this a label that we can use for like when we get a box of cable, it has a UPC code and it's usually the same one, right? And then we can just scan that box and it automatically come up. Is that so? What input is this? Is this something the program creates, or can we create a custom one?
This is generated by the program based on the item ID of the particular record. You can, however, link UPCs into here, and we can support UPCs and different part numbers and such like that as well.
In other words, you can link it to, let's say I get an antenna from 3 customers, and so, but it's the same antenna, and each customer will have their own APCs or barcode SKU, and then our system will assign a SKU, and then here I guess the other SKUs will show up from the vendors that we're buying it from.
Generally, what we would do in that situation is if you have multiple, external SKUs and they're all the same SKU, and you bring them into the system, whether it's from one vendor or 5 different vendors, we would put that all under one part record, and when you scan that UPC number, it would tell you, okay, this is this particular item. So you can store the UPC. You can store the UPC in the engineering field here. Normally, we just rename this field to UPC when we need to use that feature. What were you saying?
Is there a maximum SKUs to be linked?
No, our system doesn't have hard limits on that. The only limit is really the server in that kind of case. We have customers that do as many as I think we have one that's like 1 million parts records they threw into their system. That was a little bit of a hassle, but we do large systems like that occasionally. So you can have as many records as you need in the system.
Okay.
You can also use parts alias if you need to link multiple SKUs to a single record. So essentially this is just an alias where you can select an item and then put in various UPC codes if you have one internal item and multiple external items that you need to link to a single record. So you can do the linkage in various ways, you know, and link it all back to a single internal record.
So, and you probably explained it with that alias record, but I just want to kind of maybe handle it in my terminology. So, like, say I have a survey kit, and I want to label that survey kit 1, and I've got a UPC for every access point, antenna, bracket, power inverter, and all that. I can link it all into that one kit, even though they're separate items, but you know it's the same. It's all in one kit, but it's different items in the kit.
Potentially, yes. The only problem that you run into there is ambiguity. With the ambiguity, you know, if you have multiple, if you're using that on multiple different kits, or if you already have that UPC linked to the item in the system, you can run into the question of, you know, which one do I link to here?
Okay. But as far as for inventory, like for internal inventory, I can click on, you know, like say Aruba Kit 1, and then a listing will come up of everything in that kit, like that. Is that correct?
Yes, so here, this is actually the assemblies list here, so we have a few default assemblies in the system. And you can set up bill of materials for each of the assemblies, or kits, you know, your terminology there. So each different one, you can set up a different list of items that go into that particular kit, and have the linkage set up there.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, so you list all the items underneath, right?
Right, it helps for sending it out. This Luke and all that thing, we can do all that.
Yeah, so you've got the heads, you've got the bags, you've got batteries, you've got all that, okay.
Okay, well, that answered my question, so.
Okay. Let's pop back over to here then. One of the next unique feature of our system, I already showed the images there, but the history, okay? So you can actually click on the history button here, and this will link you into all the history for a particular item. So here in the test system, we don't have a ton of transactions, but you can see it'll give you the exact time and date when this transaction happened, when this stock was received into the system here. You know, and this happens for, you know, every single stock transaction you do is recorded to this log. So if you need to find out where something came from or where something went, you can easily track it down here.
Okay. That's good to know when we have some customers in their equipment.
Next up, we have the reorder levels here, and this is pretty straightforward. For each warehouse, you can set up different reorder levels, mins, max, you know, your average order number, how many you want to reorder. If you need to order in a specific quantity, you can also select the default supplier, and you can do that on a per warehouse basis.
So with the warehouse, so we have like one main warehouse here in Sierra Vista. Would we consider our remote employees a warehouse? Or is there like a remote?
There's two ways. There's two ways to do that. I have a client right now that essentially every single truck that they have, they consider a different warehouse. So they have a couple main warehouses that they use, and then all of their different utility trucks that go out are treated as their own warehouses as well. You can do it that way. However, it can get a little bulky, you know, if you have hundreds of different remote employees or hundreds of different trucks like they do. You can also set up an employee's warehouse as well, and then, you know, put all of your employee stock in that warehouse, and then just set up different locations for each employee or something like that. There's different ways to do the linkage. You can set up virtual warehouses, or you can set up virtual locations. It's one of those things. It depends on how you want to be able to view the data in the system.
Okay. And then how does that link, like if each of my remote employees has a different item, do I got to create a login for each of them? Is that how it works, or
yes?
You know,
each remote employee should have their own login to the system. That way, you can track what they're doing. So if they are consuming stock, you know, it gets linked back to their account, or if they request new stock, it gets linked directly to them. Although you do kind of have that linkage with, you know, if it is their assigned location, but just to make sure that you know, all the accounting is being done correctly. It's better to have a single record for each remote employee.
All right. Well, I'm going to throw a wrench into here. Does this run off of Active Directory, or do I have to manually do it all the time? Create the users.
This is a SQL-based system. We have our own user system built into it. If you can export lists of users, you can import it, and we might be able to do some linkage there where, our database is fairly open, so you could probably write a script to, generate fresh user accounts when you have new records created in Active Directory. But it is one of those things, it may be a little bit of a pain in the ass, so to speak, to set that up initially.
I only ask that because right now it would be more beneficial to only supply the user IDs to the people that actually are remote employees, which we only have a handful right now. And I only ask because, as we grow, ease of use rather than just keep creating. But that makes sense, and in fact, I'd probably like it better that we create them because then we issue the username and password. It's easier. Mm-hmm. Okay, I just wanted to see if that actually could do it.
Okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, a lot of times I ship things out under what we call project code. So, and I could ship the same item to 25 different project codes. Is there a way of building a project list, let's say, so that we know what went to what place for what purpose?
Well, it depends on how you're defining your projects. Is each project like a long-standing project where it may be going for months, or is it something that, once it's fulfilled, it's pretty much, done?
No, it's going to have to be fluid. Usually we ship things multiple times under one project code depending on individual needs. If you have a parts failure at a job site and we have to replace it with something, it'll all go under that same code. So okay. A project could last, a couple of months.
Okay, well, we have two ways of, I can see two ways of doing that off the top of my head. One is work orders. So essentially, you create a work order for the different, jobs, and then you can supply the job with, stock with the work order. So let me just generate a record here. Oh, I need to actually fill out the form. Oh, what the hell did I click on?
It's moving too fast.
Our test system is a little finicky today for some reason. Okay, well, essentially, let me just pull up a different type of order. They all have very similar looking lists. Okay, so here's a list of line items for a purchase order. Essentially, what you could do is your first option would be to, on a work order, list out the line items, and then, as you need new stock, you can just increment the value. So if they need 5 more, I just up the number by 5. Alternatively, you can actually, if I go over to issue stock, we have different reason codes in the system. So if you need to issue stock out to a job, you may just want to, we can set up, right here we have work order consumption, which is a default option. Alternatively, we could set up a, job site consumption or job site replenishment code. And then here you can just put in the information, select the item, set the number of units, and then issue it out, against that job. And you can actually fill in a reference number on some of the different fields here as well. It's one of those things, it depends on how you want to operate it and how you want to track it. How detailed does the tracking need to be? How often are you going to be doing replenishments and such?
Yeah. Yeah, we have items that are shipped to a project. Let's say we have give you for instance, we have a project in Canada that's been going on now for a couple months, and during the last couple months we've been shipping a variety of items. Some of them are the same items because we found out later on that we needed more of the same parts. And so we can increment the units there, but we will also want to track the shipping because it would be a separate shipment. And in Canada, we would have, not only do we have duties, we have taxes, we got, we got several other items. We need to be able to track all that for that particular shipment. And also it's got to be all additive so we can, when we build a customer, we take all those expenses into consideration.
Zach, why don't you show them the quick order or just the standard shipping order?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking now, is the shipping orders might fulfill that.
Okay.
So here you can select the customer, so you could set up a job site as the customer in the system. That way you can track which job site needs to be built for the particular record. Then you can set up the particular client as the build to record here. Then if I go over to the line items page, here we can specify what we have, what they ordered and what was shipped. So as I ship items out, the ship column will increase, and then if I need to come back in later on and ship out additional items for that job.
No, Zach, you'd make an additional order. Every time they need more stuff, you'd make a new order to them.
Okay.
Because that way you get your invoices right. You want to match your invoices up to the orders.
Okay, so you want an individual invoice for each one. Okay, then you can just do another shipping order every time you need to do a replenishment.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
How would we handle what we call drop shipments? In other words, I might have 10 boxes of cable here, but it costs more, or it's just not logistically feasible to get it to a location, so I call up my main supplier and say, hey, listen, ship 10 boxes of cable to such a site for me. So it's called a drop shipment.
Yeah, you just specify the ship to point on the PO. So when you're creating a PO, you bill it back to the home office, and then you can specify any ship to that you want.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that.
Can we customize it to indicate if it was a drop shipment or not?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we could put a field on the PO that says this is a drop shipment. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, we could reuse a field in the header of the PO.
Okay.
Okay.
And additionally, we do have the packages page here as well. So when you're shipping, straight out, you can track your tracking numbers, your packages and such.
Okay. Yeah, we do that a lot. We ship a lot of stuff either from here or from our vendors.
We do have the ability, there's a quick order screen in the system that you could give your people in the field. And if they needed stuff to show up at a job site, they could come in and generate their own shipping order.
They can generate it, but they can't execute it, right?
Right. It could go into an unapproved state or, waiting for approval. And then
Right.
somebody in the home office approves it, and then the warehouse guy fulfills it. So
Okay.
he just says, I need,
Perfect.
I couldn't quite hear it.
Yeah, I think if we get pictures, especially of all the items, then they will know exactly what they need, and we will know, and then we just approve it. The project, you or the project manager can approve it, do that purchase.
And
Right.
the way this screen works is, you can actually set it so that they can view the cart and all previously ordered items. So if they need to reorder and they've already ordered something previously, this list will show it to them right away. So if they need to do a reorder, they can just select, 2 units and reorder something.
Good.
Well, now that we're on this, I just have another question came to my mind. Obviously, we can't foresee everything that's required on an install back here in Sierra Vista. But let's say we're in any town on any project, we do a lot of, besides the drop shipping, we also go to Home Depot, Lowe's, and those type of places to get, like unistrut, nuts and bolts, and whatever else we need. How can this help us to track those purchases? A lot of time, the purchases are kind of the same, not in every case. So if we had it in there for Home Depot one, I think they usually have the same SKU for the same item throughout the whole country. How could that help us with this?
Oh boy. Most of the products that are at Home Depot have UPC codes on them. So if you were to buy them at Lowe's or any other retail operation, you know, you wouldn't be able to distinguish where it came from.
Well, you need two fields, one a UPC and then one is a vendor's part number.
That we can do it.
Yeah, most vendors will assign their own part number to the same product.
Yeah, we can do
So
that. I thought the question was, if somebody went into Home Depot, how are we going to know what they bought?
Well, we're going to know what they bought by they're going to use it. Right now they're faxing us the receipt, right?
Yeah, but that doesn't.
And with the project code on it, I'm just wondering if once we establish some of the products and they're in the system, is there a way to? Well, I guess is there a way to integrate those local parts purchases into the system, so we can keep account of it, or do we need to do it separate?
I guess you could.
You could just track them as standard items, you know, in your system if you're going to import the UPCs and the information on those different parts. Alternatively, I mean, we could set up a separate screen on, you know, either your shipping orders or some sort of, you know, job screen essentially, where you can track, you know, different, you know, local purchases and such to, you know, the different jobs. It is one of those things. It's not something we normally track, so we may have to do some customization to set up something, you know, that works exactly as you expect for that. It is a little bit of a different use case than we normally deal with.
Okay. But even if we don't atomize everything, we can say purchase at Home Depot $100 worth of material for the job number, I don't know, project code 15, whatever it may be, right?
Yeah, you could track that.
And who did it?
Yeah, you could track that on your invoices. So if you wanted to say other charges, you know, we did a charge for an extra $150 or something at Home Depot, things of that nature. You could track that as other charges. You know, additionally, we could add in a function where you can track multiple charges or something.
Maybe
So
add on.
Okay, other charges, that will work. Okay. At least for right now, until we can.
Yeah, I mean, you'd probably want to put the, you know, the date of the charge, where it was charged, and like the receipt number or something like that.
Yeah, we may need something a little bit more detailed to track that.
Okay. So we can fine tune that screen to identify that better, right?
Yes.
Okay. I like the other charges. That could be anything.
Shipping order, where would be a date field on that screen? I don't see one.
We'd have to add it on here. It is on the order header. The date it was created and the last date it was modified. You can also at the bottom here set your start ship date, and you know, then it will track when you started shipping the item automatically.
Right, but on these other invoices that are generated sometimes, you know, we don't know about it until a day or two or three later. We still need to have know if we're going to input all of this in there. We need to know the date. You know,
For the other purchases.
yeah, for the other miscellaneous purchases, let's say at Lowe's, you know, so and so went to do this, but
well, that's what we were talking about with expanding that other screen in order to you know, add that additional information. You know, purchase at Lowe's, you know, on Tuesday for $150. You know, and then maybe another one on Thursday. Basically, we do a list like we have on the line items page, and then, you know, we just have, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the left side, and then here you could probably specify, you know, where you bought it from, Lowe's, Home Depot, etc., and then we'd have a date field and you know, an amount. Pretty straightforward and simple, but we'd have to add that in, you know, to one of the other screens there.
yeah, because the date field is important there because it's all going to be under the same project header. You know, if we've got a month-long project and they have to run to Home Depot 5 times, we want to be able to track it by date.
Project, total project, and
Yeah.
item tracking.
Yeah, we'd end up building you a separate screen to track.
While we're talking about this, We also drive out to a lot of places, and we use either rental cars or we use our vans. So could we have some SKUs that we would use for fuel, for maintenance, for whatever, and be able to just call them up and put a price on them, so we can keep all the expenses for a project like in one.
Sure.
Yeah, that could be done.
Can we do that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you could just create inventory items and then like categorize them, excuse me, as expenses, like miscellaneous expenses or travel expenses or whatever.
Yeah, perfect.
We have a cost center.
Okay.
We have a cost center field that you could use as well.
Okay.
Okay. Well, that changed it.
Could we look at inventory again? Exactly how it's set up. So search. God, I can't see.
Let me zoom it in a little bit.
Okay.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me go to all warehouses here, and I'll just go over some of the other functions of the screen. The search functionality, you can search on any of the standard columns. So I can search, 002, and I only get a couple records here. It is a wildcard search, so if anything in the string matches, it will show up. You can also search by category and other fields here.
Now, does it search the entire system for you?
Yes, this will search. You can have, we have one system that has like 378 pages. It will search everything and only return the matching results.
Okay.
And then you can, and this is all warehouses, and you can, I see on top, you can filter down, like say if I want to search, hey, I want to know what's in van 1, and I can do a search in there and see what's all in there.
Mm-hmm. And you can also add, and you can also add additional features, additional filters if you'd like. So if you need a more fine-grained search, you can define additional filters for the screen. So if you need to do a search on both the item ID and the category, or both the item ID and where available stock is greater than 1, you can set up multi-factor searches like that as well. Additionally, you can sort by column names. So if you click on the column headers, it will sort by that column. And that works for all the standard columns. It does not work for every single column, like the icon columns, obviously, but you can filter and sort in different ways.
So okay, so we would need a field for so your item ID. Let's see. That'd be a part number. You can have a category, sure. Description.
Zach, if you click on the edit, show them all the fields.
Okay, item ID, created category, fine. What's your center code?
That's a cost center in theory, so it's a way to track, by department your expenses or something like that. It's a generic field. You could use it any way you want it, but that was the original intent.
Okay, so although we don't necessarily track or search by UPC, what we normally search by is either the vendor ID or the manufacturer's part number.
Yeah, we have suppliers' catalogs.
Okay, where's that? Okay, so would we import, provided they permitted, a vendor's complete inventory?
You could.
Yeah, we've got
Absolutely.
import and export utilities that you can use right here. So just open that up. So you can import inventory catalogs and everything.
Is there a specific format it's got to be in, or
Yeah.
like how does that? Okay.
The templates can be downloaded right here. So if you click on the template column, you can download the different templates.
But you can see there's a supplier's catalog.
Gotcha.
Oh, okay. That's going to help with test code. Yeah.
So you could load up all your different vendors' catalogs if you can get them in Excel format.
Or Excel format? Okay. A lot of them you can.
Probably,
Yeah,
sure.
a lot of them you can.
Your major vendors are going to have that capability.
Right.
And then we can export ours as well, right?
Say that again?
And we can export our
Catalog.
catalog
sure.
as well, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Zach was right. It's right there at the top of that import-export screen.
Okay.
All right. That's good. Research it. I don't part number right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you click on the export button on any of the reports, it will just give you a data dump of that screen. So here you can see all the columns that were on the report. So you can download anything that's already in the system, and you can upload new data to the system as well.
If you show them the actual, yeah, go in there, Zach. Do export the master catalog.
I just click on the template.
Oh.
So here's a basic template of an inventory import.
This system, by the way, I don't know if Mark and Mike have given you access to it, but you can register and, log in and use this demo yourself.
That'd be good for a
Yeah,
little while because until we make the decision, I mean that the biggest thing is we need to be able to understand it and be able to feel confident that with a little bit of training we get from you guys, we can implement it effectively.
Sure.
And,
yeah, we can send you a user manual and give you access, and then we'll be happy to answer all the questions you have.
So all these fields, there's a manual that says if I click on one of those, it'll tell us what it does and how to configure it, or how to at least manipulate it to get us what we want.
Yeah, the manual covers most standard inventory operations. It doesn't explain every single field. There are some things in the system like certifications that aren't covered in the manual, and some more fine-grained detailed items that we don't necessarily cover. But majority of the basic use of the system is covered in the manual. If you need any clarification, you can just send us an email or a phone call, and we can explain it in greater detail.
Okay.
You went over par levels, right, Zach?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And did you show them you can sort by the columns?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Got right there at a glance what that part is.
Right?
Yeah. So let's say we download some vendor's catalog, what they sell. Obviously, we're not going to buy everything. So when we go to the system, we'll be able to automatically. It's already not in our inventory, but access to it. Does it show up on our inventory when we actually input or when we buy it? Or how does that work? Or we can put it in there and when we have no stock on it?
We purge it.
Yeah, can we purge it, I guess?
You can set up records for any inventory that you'd like in the system. So if you're going to import the supplier's catalog, you'll see like on the screen here, most of the columns are 0. We only have a few items in stock. So you can bring in the the information, and then you don't necessarily have to use it right away. You can receive in items or stock later on when you actually decide to use that particular part number.
You can also delete it when you need to. Correct?
Yes. Generally with our system, we don't like to delete item records and part records, just because that can screw up your history a little bit there. So what we like to do is you can actually discontinue the parts. So you'll see I can click on the discontinued status, and we have a couple special ones in here. So normally, instead of deleting part numbers, we just discontinue them. And similar for some other areas of the system, like customer records and such. Because if you delete a customer record and you already have an order for that customer, that hurts your data linkage a little bit. So
It'd be better to purge it before you import it.
Right.
Right.
So
you could go through the catalog before you imported it and just get the parts you want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then later on, you can run the import again, and the import will ignore any duplicate records. So.
So that's actually one of my questions. So if we're creating them, say, Frank's gone for an extended period of time, and someone else is doing importing and trying to get everything squared away, but they can't find a part, so they try to create a new one. Is it going to give us an error or give us a warning, hey, this one already exists?
Yes, the system is set up to check for duplicate errors like that. So if I go over to the item master screen, I'll just create a new item real quick. So if I try to create 00251 again, it will give me an error at the top of the screen. You already have a unique key in the system. So this is actually this screen actually processes most of our different header records and such. So it's set up to automatically check to see, is that a unique column, and am I only allowed to have one of that, and things of that nature. So this works similarly for almost every page in the system. So if you tried to enter a duplicate category or a duplicate supplier, it would also give you the same warning.
Okay. Okay.
Even if it has different characters or...
Well, it's got to be identical at one point in time.
Why if somebody puts in a category that is similar, they think it's in
To go back on the inventory stuff, if we're storing UPCs, it will allow us to have the same UPC for, let's say, 10 different vendor part numbers?
Mm-hmm. Yes, you can set that up with the supplier's catalog. So you can set up different vendors, have different, internal SKUs or different numbering systems, and you can transfer that onto one. It can detect all that and put it into your one, internal record.
Okay, one UPC. Okay. Let's see what else. There was something else.
What's the limit on how many records we can have? Obviously, if we download the vendor's catalog and we do several of them, or maybe more than several, we use up a lot of line items. Is there a limit, or what limits that?
There is no hard limit to the number of warehouses or parts or anything of that you can enter into the system. The system will start to slow down if you put a lot of information in and the server is not powerful enough to handle it. So that is one thing to consider. It may need to be set up on a more powerful server if you plan to do hundreds of thousands of parts or something of that nature. But if you're just doing like 50,000 to 100,000, it shouldn't be a problem in the base system.
Okay. So let's say we import a vendor's catalog, but we only want to select, let's say there's 1,000 items, but we only want to select, 300 of them. Will those, will the other items, I guess, won't affect the amount of inventory that we try to track?
No, those items would not affect your inventory, but they would still show up on the, the item master catalog. So it's one of those things. You may just want to import the 300 that you plan to use now, and then later on you can import the rest of them if you need them. It goes both ways. You can do it however you plan on doing it, whatever works easiest for you.
Well, if I have to download an entire vendor's catalog, but I only need a certain part of it, can I delete the rest?
Yes.
Yeah, if you delete it from the Excel spreadsheet before importing it into the system.
Right.
You purge it before you import it.
No, we wouldn't search it, but
You
tailor it.
purge it. You purge it. You know what purge means?
Yeah, I do know what purge means, but no.
But you only leave the items you need, and that's what you're importing to the product.
Okay.
If you were to download the whole Granger catalog, you could probably, wipe out all of their cleaning products and all of their, and just not bother. We do have the ability to put special one-time buy on purchase orders, so you don't have to have the whole catalog in there. You could just use, the items that you primarily purchase.
Okay.
And if we decide to update it with more items, you said the original will stay in there and only pick out the new ones?
That's correct. You can just add to it as you need to.
Okay. That's good. That's good. All right. I don't. Is it?
So we can initiate a purchase order, send it to a company, get the order, submit it, get it back, and then we inventory. I guess we acknowledge what came in, and if everything came in, it would automatically put all those items on inventory.
That's correct. And it'll send the PO over to QuickBooks to pay it.
So how do we do, with orders, you create orders, and I mean, I don't know if you guys went over this when I was stuck out, but we can create a project estimate so that way we can send them to customers.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. So
Yeah, we've done that for a couple of customers.
Yeah, okay. So while we still have the estimate, nothing happens until we make it into what, a purchase order or an invoice or something like that, or?
Right. Right.
Because you know we always do a lot of estimates for customers, and then you know it'd be nice if we got them all, but nobody usually does. So.
Well, with that being said, if I want to, like, say I have, we have 100 items of XYZ, and I'm a project manager, and I need to make sure that I'm going to sell about 40 of those items, but I haven't got the approval to go yet, so I can create a project estimate. Will it show that these items are on hold for this project, so that way no one can take them out from underneath me, or at least they can have verify?
Yeah, there was a committed field in there.
Right.
Far right end.
Right. That's exactly how that works.
Okay.
Okay.
So shipping orders create commitments to your inventory.
Now, someone else could also create a shipping order and request those items, but you know, they would be alerted that, you know, we are short when they go to process it. If they tried to process an order and there was already an order in the system, it'll show you on the shipping order screen that, you know, your available amounts and your committed amounts and such.
And again, this next question, you may have gone over it. So if we're low on an item, say we have a hard set, you know, say we normally have 100 of these items, but we have 800 of them, and we're getting close to the threshold, and we reach 100 of these items for a reorder, will it send us an alert saying, hey, this item needs to be reordered and whatnot?
There are different ways of doing the restocking. We have a couple built into the system here. We have restocking transits, which is where you restock a warehouse from another warehouse. So you can select your from warehouse and your to warehouse. We also have restocking purchase orders, and this will just generate you know, a number of purchase orders to restock any items that you're short on. Additionally, we have utilities that run nightly for some clients, where every night it will just check, you know, what was consumed that day, you know, where the inventory level's at now, and it will generate basically cursory purchase orders that then you can review and send to your vendors if you know, if they're approved. And then basically the next morning they just go through and they check out what, you know, happened overnight. Additionally, you know, we can set up notifications. We do have a notifications API in the system. So if you wanted to just have like your office technicians or you know, your administrators alerted the next time they log in, we can set up alerts for that as well.
So obviously we're viewing what you view on a computer. How does this differ to the mobile side?
Well, let me swap over to that real quick.
Oh, I'm not going ahead.
Resize the screen a little bit. Okay, so this is the mobile software. This is basically a similar web app that you can load up on pretty much any mobile device as long as it has a you know, web browser on it. You know, so let me just log in here. It's the same username and password used for the primary system. So when you log in, you can assign users to a specific warehouse, or you can, you know, allow them to be administrators and select their own warehouse. You can also bind people to a group of warehouses. So if you only want them to access one or two, you can do that. Then from here, you can do all of your stock operations, basically. So you can look through your inventory, doing a search. You know, all the active stock is here. Additionally, you can do positive adjustments, you know, with receiving, negative adjustments with issuing, moving stock between locations. Cycle counts. You can also process orders. So if you need to receive an order or ship an order, you can do it through this utility as well. And it will also show you your numbers, received versus requested, different statistics there.
We did try this on your Kindles, and this works fine on your Kindles.
Oh, perfect. All right, so but you're manually touching the screen and doing this. So like say the guys are out and they're going to use X number of parts, so they're going to use maybe this many screws. They can, are they going to go in there because the screws are already in their inventory and they're going to modify inventory, or are they going to say that these screws are allocated to this project? And does the barcode scanner come into play at all during that, or are they just modifying it per project, or how are they going to allocate an inventoried item remotely to a project is really my question. Oh, sorry.
It's a real-time, they're connected back real-time to the database, so whatever they do is reflected real-time in the data. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question.
As far as issuing a part remotely, so if you need to add something remotely to an order, you can do a direct issue if you're just pulling something off a truck and you have it right there. So you can direct issue against an existing shipping order. You can also direct receive against an existing purchase order as well if you need to. If you need to assign new parts, we could probably just modify our direct issue screen. So instead of actually issuing against an order, it will just add another line item to the order instead. It's one of those things. Each client does need a few customizations like this normally to fit the workflow. So as far as adding parts remotely, that may need to be a slight customization there.
And the parts that they're issuing to a new project, like for instance, like we give them antennas kind of to keep on their trucks with them just in case, and they may or may not use them at that project, but say something happens, they're going to use this antenna for this particular project. Now they're taking it out of inventory of their truck, and I have to apply it to this project code as a line item, and then I need to make sure that Frank here knows that this antenna is there, and he knows that that antenna is no longer allocated as an option in their truck for future use.
Okay.
If it's right on the truck, if it's right on the truck and they're logged into the truck as a warehouse, they could probably just click the direct issue button, and then select the part or scan the part number. And the location, we can set that up to default right to their truck that they're on. Select the number of units and just issue it, and this will actually add that to that order there. So if they need to consume stock right there, they can do that if it's right there on the truck. If it's not on the truck, that's kind of the problem where we need to add a way to request it.
Yes, that's the other thing. Well, a lot of the stuff that they're going to request is like they're going to have boxes of cable with them. They're going to have jacks. They're going to have antennas. They're going to have the items that they normally use, and when they get low, they need to request the items from Frank so that way they can get them shipped to them. That kind of thing. And then, of course, that's an in-stock item to them. 9 out of 10 times when we issue these parts, the project manager says, hey, Frank, these are the parts that I need for this project. Frank goes and gets them, orders them, ships them out. The guys on site don't use any of the stuff they have unless, they have an abundance of it. So we usually have that, but there are some instances where, stuff does happen, or if there's a DOA on a part or bad set of connectors that they have to get inventory from their truck. And that's where I need it to be counted and allocated. So, but it looks like it does that. And I'm assuming that reference number, like SO, whatever, I can reference the project ID to that.
Right.
Well, this reference goes straight back to the shipping order that I just clicked on. But if we do some renaming or if we set them up as different projects in the system, yes, we can reference that back to the project.
Or you could even use the remarks field.
Okay.
RFID, is that the barcode?
Yeah, is that the RFID? Is that the barcode?
The RFID field can be used for barcoding. Generally, it's in there, and we use it for the radio frequency tags.
Okay.
Normally, for barcoding, you would just scan into the item/description field, and then it will search the database either for a matching item and description, or for a matching UPC code, or such. You can also work with serial numbers as well, and you can scan in serial numbers, and it will auto-populate the information then.
We also have MAC addresses to go along with serial numbers very often.
Okay, so MAC addresses for the different equipment. Okay.
We have two serial number fields. Yeah, we have two serial number. We have two serial number fields. So you could put the serial number in one field and then the MAC address in the second serial number.
Okay, and that could all point to the same UPC?
Yep. Yeah, it's on the same.
Right.
It's per item.
Okay.
Can you link aliases or do that one-time purchase on remotely? And the only reason I ask this is because we do some work in Canada and Mexico, and the same exact items that we normally buy are called something else in those countries. So, like, say I need a box of fender washers, they may not call them fender washers. They may have a different UPC code, but to us, it's the exact same thing. So, are we allowed to create aliases remotely through this app so that the field engineer can dictate exactly what they need at any given time, so we know that, whatever, XYZ is actually XYZ here, but it's 1, 2, 3 in this country. You know what I mean?
Well, by default, currently we only have the aliases, the adding of the aliases in the desktop application. We can add another screen here. We do have a utility to do that. We could add another screen where you can add an alias remotely. The only problem with that is the application actually stores a cache of the different parts and the different aliases. So the cache then needs to be updated. So it may take anywhere between 2 to 30 minutes for them to get that updated parts alias if they're working remotely and such. So that may be a slight, monkey wrench in the plan there, but we can customize and work around that probably.
Isn't that something that doesn't happen often?
It doesn't happen often.
Where you can just call the admin and tell them to add it as a...
Right, and that's what I was thinking, that it might be easier based on what they just said, that they would just email that information to Frank to add it, and that way it goes on the system to be allocated later. That might be better. That way you have admin rights over it. Safe. Right. I'm good with this.
How does it connect to QuickBooks?
Oh, how does this connect to QuickBooks? Backend.
We have an interface utility that generally will set up on a terminal server or something. Essentially, it just interfaces with the QuickBooks file, and it has a SQL data connection to our system, and it just monitors our system for transactions, and then it posts back against the QuickBooks database.
Okay, and then how does this, in the same kind of setup when you're doing the back end for the e-commerce?
It's similar. It depends on the e-commerce platform you're using. We've done them in the past where they, we have like triggers in the database that copy the data from one database to another. We have similar utilities where it monitors our system for transactions, or every 5 minutes it just checks and applies the changes. There's different ways that we've done it in the past. I don't know specifically which utility you plan on going with, so I don't know, exactly how it would work for that instance.
And then will there be information? So say we, after we decide which inventory or which e-commerce system we want, the customers will log in, they'll order their items, and then it'll, obviously create a record to be shipped out. Will we be able to know the difference between if something gets physically requested by, Frank or project manager as compared to the e-commerce website? Will we know the difference, or is it just going to be that it's going to be ordered here, this person ordered it, and this is where it needs to be shipped? We can
set it up in a variety of ways. Normally, we just have a different number sequencing for that. So we would have, your standard orders would be like SO dash, the 15 or 16 for the year, and then dash, 001, 002, etc. And then we would set up a similar one for the e-commerce platform that's probably just like EC dash, 16-001. So we normally just use different numbering, but if you need different fields and flags, we can set that up as well. It is very customizable. The database has a lot of hidden fields, that you don't normally see that we can just toggle on or off to make these different changes. So.
I have another question. We will sometimes reuse the same purchase order number. I know most systems are probably set up to sequentially generate them. Will we have an override on that if we want to use the same purchase order several times?
If you want to use the same purchase order several times,
why would
that
you
may
do
be a
that?
bit of a problem. Our system doesn't like that.
What if this is, we use it?
Like what we do on VEF. So like what we do is whenever we do, for instance, we have vehicle fuel, and this is a generic PO that we use for.
So it's like a blanket PO, you mean?
Yeah, like a blanket PO, where they'll throughout the year we'll use this because this is our vehicle that isn't attached to a project necessarily, but we have to get the vehicle fuel because of, it's required. And we'll use that PO, throughout the year. It'll change at the end of the year.
Yeah, that's fine. We can do blanket POs. We can handle blanket POs. I just wouldn't reuse a PO in general. But you can do releases. You can leave a PO open for a year and, keep doing releases against it, sure.
Well, what we do here, go ahead, ma'am.
Go ahead.
What we do here a lot of times is when I'm replenishing stock that I want to keep a certain stock level in the warehouse, and I don't even have a project code yet, but I just know that these items we use continuously. I'll use the same PO throughout the year to replenish with any and sometimes all of my vendors. If I have to get, let's say, a pull box of 1,000 foot of cable, I'll use the same PO throughout the year unless I'm drop shipping to a site, which is then project directed or specific.
That sounds like a blanket PO though.
Yeah, for a year it's perfect because we close it out at the end of the year and begin a new one for the new year. Yeah.
How many different blanket POs will the system let us have?
It's
the same thing as the rest of the system. There is no hard limit. It's pretty much as many records as you'd like to enter.
All right. That's good then.
Okay. That's it. I liked it. And of course, the mobile site is customizable based on colors, logos, that type of thing. It can be relatively utilized that way, right?
Yes, we do have utilities in the base system for swapping out the logos, so you can upload your own logo and apply that. The colors on the mobile piece are fixed. We can adjust those if needed for your custom build. On the desktop site, you can customize the colors. However, be forewarned, it's easy to make it very difficult to use if you change the colors incorrectly. So.
Okay. My next question, and maybe this is too cumbersome, but when as a remote field engineer goes out and they're allocating all these parts and all that, and is there a way to output the parts used and parts allocated for that project to the Kindle, so that way they may be able to create a receipt, or they can create like maybe a project acceptance form or anything like that of the project? Because a lot of times our guys are redoing work where they have to literally type out every single item that they've installed, and the customer wants to know exactly what was installed.
We have an audit trail.
Output a what?
We have an audit trail report that probably, or there's a whole bunch of inventory reports, but.
Okay, and then you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, although I have nothing to do with that particularly, and it's all hand done usually, isn't it? They have to type it.
Yeah, they got to type it, but if they have if you've already shipped this item and they've allocated these items based on this order, just like this, an output of this, and then us to be able to add a commentary on this item, so that they can either email it to a customer or
print it out
for a customer saying that we did these items were installed onto
the work order.
What they would do then is, first of all, we're going to have a project item list.
Right.
So have that fill your form out and let the FE pick everything that he needs to be on the form that was done from our existing list of what's been used for the project.
But I don't think you even need to do that. I think you can just do a sort on the project number and have it print out.
They may or may not use what.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Okay, see what he's doing there?
With
Yeah.
a modification maybe, that they're able to make it 0 if they need to.
Possibly.
I just brought up on the screen one of our standard invoices. You know, we can post back to these PDFs from the mobile side. So if they need to, you know, download a standard PDF and you know, then fill that out with some additional notes or something, you know, that could be done.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah. Or you could give them our CA form.
Yeah, then we can. So, yeah, that's good. Well, Frank brought up a good point. So we have a standard customer acceptance form that obviously we can modify to match certain, you know, formatting. But how customizable are these invoices? Are they just, you know, what can we do with it?
That's essentially, you know, we don't try to make you fit our model. You know, if you need special reports, you just tell us what you need, and you know, they don't tend to be large jobs. You know, we just either do them for free or we charge you a couple hours to generate the report.
All right. Well, with this being said, how we can do it, and you can do this from the mobile side too, right?
It can be set up to open up the PDFs remotely. So yes, you can do that from the mobile site and open the file.
So I'm trying to get into the digital signature type items, which is the whole reason the Kindle came into play. And of course, now with this, you know, we're just an added feature with the Kindle. Are you able to, as an invoice for the customer, to accept the invoice via signature or them typing in that a digital signature, so that way that when this thing is printed, this thing, you know, they can present it to the customer, be like, okay, here's what it is, go ahead and view it. If you accept it, sign here or print your name here, and then we can automatically either email it to the customer or email it to someone.
Mm-hmm. We do have the ability to capture signatures. Give me a moment here and I'll try to load up that particular testing site. What has stock in it?
That's going to help.
Now you'll notice here this is a very large. This is one of my larger customer sites, so it does take a minute or two to load up occasionally. When you first log in, it will load up the caches for all of your active inventory. Yeah, that way you can operate remotely, and then it posts the transactions back as you work in the system. So let me do a search here, and we'll just select an item. So one of the other things you could do is batch transactions. You can add a number of items to this list, and then batch move them to another location, put them in transit, or do different things. I believe in transits generate signatures. However, I do not remember exactly. It's been a little while since I've worked with this.
What we're talking about is creating a custom customer acceptance form rather than having the guys type it all out and missing something. Then all the items will be there, and then there would be a note section of any of the installation details that we have to write out normally. And then them presenting this to the customer, signing off on it, and then it recording the signature at that point, so that can either send it via email to the customer for their reference, or send it directly to PM support for project acceptance.
Yes, that can be set up, automatic emailing and the capturing the signatures.
See, then that's going to take a lot of the headache out.
Sounds like it, yeah.
And then with that note section, that can be a project description that we have to do anyway.
Well, the projects, or when we're building a project, right, we have our list. We should build our list.
Based on that.
Yeah, and we can always overbuild a project to take into account most contingencies, and then on the CA form, all they have to do is pick and choose what they was actually used.
Right. Okay. That's not bad.
No?
Okay, that makes sense. All right, great. Sorry, we're just kind of going back and forth with the,
It's understandable.
the features. I like the way that we can do that. It basically makes it idiot-proof. It picks and chooses everything.
I want us to get their online, so we can start looking at it, and they can give us a demo.
This is the demo.
Ourselves besides this. They don't.
Do you have a way for us to is there like a login ID for a demo so we can like kind of click around ourselves and all that stuff?
Yep.
Yeah, we'll send you the
With it for a few
details.
days.
Yeah, we'll send you the details after the meeting here. We'll send out an email with all that information.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Yeah, because once we do that ourselves, we may, first of all, see how easy it may be. Also, it may generate other questions that we may need answered.
Well, we like to play it before we buy it.
Because obviously, it's a pretty good sizable investment for us, and we want to make sure that we can get this to work for us and that we'll do what we want. It seems like right now that it does a lot of the things that we need done, and some of the and more if we customize some of the areas that can be customized to put in information that's particular to our customer and to what we do. So that's I appreciate the presentation.
Also, would you mind emailing me the system requirements of the server? For if we're going to have it on site server.
Well, the server is pretty straightforward. Any quad-core computer can pretty much run the system. RAM requirements, 4 to 8 gigabytes is normally fine. Your biggest issue is as it expands, you may need to upgrade slightly as far as processing power. But generally, yeah, just a Microsoft Windows server, Server 2008 R2 and newer. It's pretty much very, very low system requirements. You can even run it on SQL Express if needed, as long as your database size stays under 10 gigabytes. So.
What about automatic backups? How does that work?
If you host it yourself, that is, that's up to the client to set them up if you host the system yourself. If it's on our servers, we do have automatic backups taken every hour, and those are moved to an off-site location. And if there's ever downtime, which in the past 5 years I think it's been down for 30 minutes one time. I think that was the only time that server went down. But we can then restore from a backup if we need to if there's ever a failure. Generally though it is 100% uptime.
Okay. Okay, great. And then tech support. Is that Monday to Friday 8 to 5, depending on where you are, 24-hour? How does all that work?
Tech support is Monday through Friday, generally 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. If we are needed outside of those hours, we do check our emails occasionally. However, it's not guaranteed that we'll be available outside of those hours.
Okay.
We can set up different plans based on your needs.
Okay.
We do understand we work with a lot of clients on the West Coast, so we do, if we need to make ourselves available, we do that,
Okay, great. Well, you guys, this is a great presentation, and we definitely are excited about this. We just have that little, we just want to kind of play with it. I definitely want to look into the e-commerce sites because, like I said, when we invest in this, I need to make sure I'm investing in the right server. I'm getting all of the
Just put it in
the Kindles and everything squared away. I'm looking at all the price points because obviously it's going to be more than whatever was quoted because we have to do the extra stuff, on our end, the extras. So I just have to take all that into account and then budget that money. But also I want to make sure that, Frank and all the project managers do kind of play around with it. So yeah, if you just send me, I just got the email from Mike a little while ago about the e-commerce. And
Yeah,
then, if you send me that login information.
Yeah,
that'd
this
be
is
great.
Mike. I'm getting you the demo website, getting that over to you right now. So I will get that over to you, and then we can go from there.
Right, will 2 weeks be sufficient? Kind of
I'm sorry?
Will 2 weeks be sufficient?
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay, then what we'll do is we'll take all this information, we'll discuss everything internally, and we'll probably need at least 2 weeks to kind of mull it over, look at every aspect of it, develop any new questions or requirements that we see, kind of go over it.
That's fine.
Sounds good. Good.
All right, fantastic, guys.
Yeah, if you have any questions, Nick, just email me or call me. We can go over them and go from there.
Fantastic. We really appreciate it, and we're really excited about this. Yeah, we'll get started on it, and in 2 weeks we'll get back on a call, and then in between there, any questions, Frank, I'm gonna forward Frank's information to you as well, and I'm gonna forward everything to Frank. So if any direct questions, you don't need to go through me. You can just ask Mike directly, because Frank is really going to be the main guy to set this off and to look at it. As far as my inventory needs for my network, it already meets it. So any little wrenches that may get thrown in is really going to be on day-to-day from Frank's normal operation to make his job a little bit easier and less stressful.
Roger that. Nice.
He laughed because we like to stress him just normally anyway. So.
Yeah, that's our favorite pastime.
Right. Okay, great guys. Well then, yeah, we'll look at it in the next 2 weeks. We'll or at least next week we'll try to set something up for the following week, and then we'll go from there.
All right, Nick, thanks for your time, and your coworkers there, and Ben, thank you to your team for showing us the demo today.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you guys.
Thank
Have
you,
a
guys.
good day.
Have a nice weekend.
All right, have a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good one.